that's got to be the intro then.
That is the intro. Hello and welcome to the Pretty Good Gaming Podcast, episode number 90. My name is Mr. Gareth Evans, and joining me today is Mr. Henry Gobble 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 Cooper.
You've abandoned whatever previous nickname you had. Yeah. I'm definitely putting that in the intro. I'm editing this, so that's going everywhere.
There you go. It is in the intro. I did have another one, right? And I'm going to read this out here. Henry, fuck positive news. Oh, look, a Dota anime. That's nice, I guess. Cooper.
I mean, I try and keep it positive, but generally that's quite difficult. So I was like, oh, people like Dota. I couldn't give less of a shit. That was here's something kind of cool.
That one was the prepared moniker, but and it was submitted by Tony Shulman on one of the comments this week, so I appreciate that. Anyone else got a middle name for Henry? Leave them down in the comments. It makes my life easier, that's for sure. So today we've got a bunch of stuff to talk about. Got a huge Nintendo Direct. They've been holding. It feels like this Nintendo Direct was just Nintendo just not going to the toilet for like 2 months and then just dumping it all in one go. They just like and they just feel like, oh, thank God for that, like that catharsis, or you feel like afterwards, and then just leaving everyone else with so much stuff to trawl through because it was.
But it's not even like a good one. It's like a post curry or spicy food one where it's just shit. It's just shit everywhere. You don't even have that one.
It's not that bad.
That was a solid nugget. No, it wasn't that bad, but. Virtually nothing.
There was some stuff in there for some
tickled
people.
My pickle in that one.
We'll get to that. I'm
sure some people liked it, but it really wasn't my day.
Nintendo, yeah. Well, Henry's judgments aside, we'll go through what was in the Nintendo Direct to begin. Then Henry's been playing The Medium on the Game Pass for PC, and he'll be talking us through his experiences with that. After which, we'll be taking questions from the Patreon Discord channel. After that, we'll have a triggered fanboy comment of the week, or kind of semi-triggered. It's you didn't trigger enough people this week, Henry, so we'll do our best to get some angry people in the comments. After that, reading some regular YouTube comments, and then the bad dad joke of the week to finish up. But first, the aforementioned Nintendo Direct, and there hadn't been one for a while, and here it is now. We've got so much to talk through. I'm just going to read through a bunch of these, Henry. And if you've got anything interesting to say or anything positive to add, if you've got anything positive to add, then deliver it. But the biggest news is that Splatoon 3 has been announced, and Splatoon is a huge game for Nintendo. And this Splatoon 3 will be coming in 2022. It wasn't much of an announcement trailer, really. It was just, oh look, it's nice Splatoon, bit of a story kind of thing. It wasn't much
like a
gameplay
cinematic kind of Well, I was like, so it opened with Smash Bros, which we'll bounce onto. So I was like, okay, that's one of your biggest games at the moment that you're regularly updating. Whatever you're going to finish with has to be huge then. If you're not saving Smash for the end, so I was like, surely Breath of the Wild 2, or maybe God forbid Metroid Prime 4, which has been in development hell since it was fucking announced. But then they come out with Splatoon 3, and I'm like,
not good enough for Henry.
Okay, people like Splatoon. That's
it's
cool.
It's a big game. They've got
nothing. Yeah, I know nothing about Splatoon other than the characters in Smash, and I'm like, they're not bad. I would like to play Splatoon. I just haven't got around to it. But I was kind of just like, is this all?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm in the minority. Maybe people are like really hyped for this thing, but I'm like, it did nothing for me. I'm like, cool. But as the last one of the showcase, I was a bit like...
You're not a Splatoon player, so that kind of explains it.
And I'm sure people who like it are really excited, so
and
that's cool.
To get a new announcement of a game in a franchise that you're already connected with, it's big news for some people, Henry. We're not all as boring as you, just because you don't like it, man. I mean,
just because the whole fucking show was JRPG after JRPG.
Yeah. Well, we're getting there. God almighty. A judgment-laden intro by Henry. We'll get to... Just hold your horses, dude. You can unleash hell as we get on. I mean, just let me get through it first. So Splatoon 3. I'm not interested. Henry's not interested. Henry's obviously made his feelings known. And
it's not Splatoon 3's fault specifically.
It's a new announcement of a game. It didn't really show much, but it's
a game
there
that's still not coming for a year and will probably still get
take
pushed
it or leave
further.
it. Take it or leave it. And the aforementioned Smash Brothers Ultimate was featured as well. It was at the very beginning. Pyra / Mythra are joining the roster. They originally featured in Xenoblade Chronicles 2 as main character Rex, 2-in-1 ally Pyra Mathra. Right, so they will be coming to Smash Bros. In the near future. They're just not telling us when. And that's it. Is that of any interest to you? You're a Smash Brothers player.
I mean, yeah. I will get them because I have the fighter pass already, so that'll just be like added on. So that's cool, and they're new people. But I'm like, no one. I don't think anyone asked for this. But I'm like,
that's literally what everyone says every time. No one asked for that character.
But at the same time, I absolutely love it because I don't care about these characters. I don't think most people don't care about these characters, but they just do what they want, and I love it. Like the lead developer Sakurai, he just doesn't give a shit. He's like, here's a cool sort of anime-esque character with a big sword. I'm gonna put him in. Fuck the lot of you. I'm making the game I want, and I love that. He just doesn't give a shit.
That's the criteria, isn't it? Like, how big's your sword? Is it bigger than your character? Yeah. If it is, then you're in the game.
I mean, no-brainer characters like Crash Bandicoot. He seems so obvious to put in the game. He's an icon, and he's like that kid-friendly kind of vibe. I mean, you're not going to fucking put Kratos in there, are you? But out of the blue with a random Xenoblade Chronicles character, a game that's like there's not a new one immediately coming out or anything, so it's not like it's a cross-promotion thing. They've already got a Xenoblade Chronicles character in the game anyway, so it's not like it's a new IP.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're probably going to be cool. The sword characters, because there's millions of them, are normally my favorite in Smash Bros. I'll probably have a good time with it. But, I mean, I don't care about those characters. No one cares, but it's hilarious.
You will when you play them, Henry. All right.
Exactly. I'm sure they're going to be fun.
The third biggest, let's say, because those were the two biggest announcements. If you can call it like a DLC for Smash Bros. A big announcement.
Yeah.
Another big one was Legend of Zelda, Skyward Sword HD. So this is the re-release of a 2011 game which came out on the Wii. It featured like movement combat, so you could like swing your sword and put your shield up, and they're bringing that to the Nintendo Switch now too, although you can use the movement combat as well as just like regular controls now too. It boasts 60 frames per second. They're also releasing at the same time as a set of themed Joy-Con controllers, so that's great for people who are interested in that. There was a big kind of sell. Oh, if you enjoyed there's a lot of features in this game that made it through to Breath of the Wild. So if you enjoyed Breath of the Wild, you should definitely pick this up, giving it the big sell. So it is coming to Switch on July the 16th. Are you interested?
I mean, I'm not really a massive Zelda fan altogether. The only one I've played like fully to completion is Breath of the Wild, and from what I gather, Skyward Sword, like, people like it, but it's not. It's not the top tier. It's not Ocarina or I don't know, Majora's Mask or something like that. Those seem to be more popular in the conversation. But I was like, okay, cool. Like, it's another Zelda game on thingy on the Switch that'll still sell really well. One thing that did kind of make me twitch my head a little bit is, so they've got the motion controls, as you said. If you swing down, it'll swing the sword down. If you swing across, it'll swing across, diagonal, whatever kind of omnidirectional thing. But to play it with conventional, well, quote-unquote conventional controls, it's now on the stick. You can swing the sword with your analog stick, which a few games have done in the past, and I've never found it comfortable. I just don't feel like it works, and I mean, maybe they'll be the one to do it right, but as soon as I heard that, I was like, that just doesn't sound good. I would, if I was to get it, I would definitely play it in motion controls over doing that.
The problem that sticks out to me is, how do you control the camera? Is it going to be camera locked the whole time? Is there going to be issue if you're moving the right stick is your attack? Like, how do you look round when you want to look round? Like, how do you? That's one of the biggest problems for me using the controller and being aware of your space. On a keyboard and mouse that I'm used to, I can just like move the house as quick as I want to see the enemies behind me. Maybe if it's just a lock-on system where you just like R1 to lock on the nearest enemy, maybe that could work too. But question marks over how that would work. I'm pretty interested. I'm not sure whether I'd pick it up at launch. It's probably going to be like 50, 60 quid.
Obvious,
because it's a first-party Nintendo game, and they're always bleeding the dry of our, always a premium stamp on those types of games. But, I'm kind of interested.
I'm not disinterested. Like, I'd maybe check it out.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That's Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD. Moving on. The other one, which is a first-party Nintendo game, Mario Golf Super Rush. Oh my god. This actually, for a fan of golf games, I think this looked kind of interesting. It features...
It's one of the major highlights of the thing, and I will be honest, like, it looks quite fun.
Yeah.
But doesn't that kind of say it all, that one of your biggest highlights is Mario Golf?
You can play, it's a first-party Nintendo game, right? And rather than just making a first-party Nintendo Golf game, they was like, let's just use Mario and people will buy it. People love Mario. Let's just like stamp Mario. So that's it. It's just a Mario-themed golf game. So it features local and online multiplayer modes. A game mode called Speed Golf, which it's always your turn. So you swing, you hit your club, and you just run to the next position, and then you swing again, and then you're running.
Fun.
That'd be quite fun, and you can collect stars and stuff. So you become, so you run into people and like knock them over or something. I don't know how it works. There's bananas in there to throw in front of people's balls.
Yep, I mean, it's the bullshit Mario Kart level of competitiveness where like you can just fuck up someone else's day. It doesn't matter if you're winning. I'll just hit you with some bullshit. But that
could be fun. Yeah, that could be fun.
Yeah.
There's also a story mode too, and that kind of reminds me of Golf Story, which is one of my favorite games on the Switch, like a RPG themed golf game kind of thing, which is, it's not quite the same as Golf Story. It's not quite as curated. You use your me character to level up and compete against the challenges and stuff like that. But there it is. June the 25th is when that is releasing, and I'm kind of interested. Again, I won't pay 60 quid for it. I might pick it up on a 10, 20 quid bargain bin, but then again, it might never happen because it's a Nintendo first party game.
Yep.
So moving on. Project Triangle Strategy. They haven't got a name for it, so this is the working title. But it's a triangle because there's 3 different options, and it's a strategy game based on a triangle. So they called it Project Triangle Strategy. What else would you call it? This is a Square Enix game, and it's a tactical RPG, one of many which featured in the Nintendo Direct. There is a free demo available for it right now, so if you want to check it out. It will be released, though, in 2022. So take that as you will if you want to try this upcoming Square Enix tactical RPG game. It's coming out next year. You can try it now, which is always good. It's always good to get a demo.
And this one kind of went straight over my head, but I'm very aware, like, this kind of tactical RPG, Square Enix style, Final Fantasy-esque RPG's never really been my thing, but there is a huge audience for it. So I'm like, well, that's cool. Like, people will readily lap this up. And game demos are always good. Need more of them. I'll probably just download the demo just to, try it, to support demos, which is kind of a weird concept, but more game demos should happen, especially when the game itself isn't out for ages. It's not out until 2022, so getting something now is a smart move to get people like, oh, this is cool. Now let's see. Now I'm like invested in the hype train for this, however long it'll be.
Yeah, I'm behind that for sure. Next up, a pretty big kind of announcement, but it's a Star Wars game, right? Star Wars Hunters is the name of the game. I'm going to read this whole bit of blump. I've got a blump. I don't know what that is, but this is off Reddit. Star Wars Hunters offers a thrilling take on the galaxy in the squad-based online multiplayer game. Build a team from a cast of unique and all-new Star Wars characters, from daring bounty hunters to heroes of the Rebellion and Imperial stormtroopers. Face off against other squads in arenas based on iconic Star Wars settings set between Star Wars Return of the Jedi and Star Wars The Force Awakens. The free-to-play Star Wars Hunters launches in 2021. Interested?
Not even a little bit. Oh my god! This is when my most cynical hat came on. Like, and I had to kind of check myself a little bit. When it came up, it opens with like a door opens. So I'm like, oh, that looks a bit like Tatooine. Oh, that looks like a stormtrooper helmet like graffitied on the wall. Oh, okay. So I kind of got with it. Oh, it's a Star Wars thing. EA doesn't have exclusivity with Star Wars anymore. This could be interesting. I think this is the first like named thing since that deal has kind of fallen apart, because the Ubisoft's doing one but it doesn't have a name yet. So I was like, okay, and then it's described it as free-to-play competitive multiplayer game, and I just sank. I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, man. This is, again, people like it. Fortnite's one of the biggest games around. that's literally what it is. Every game is now trying to emulate that kind of success, understandably so. But it's not my speed at all. And why have they chosen to set it between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens, for like a non-story game? Like, why limit yourself to this tiny period? Well, it's not tiny; it's about 30 years, but like this empty period with nothing going on. It's probably because it's empty. So, we can do whatever we like.
Yeah.
But if you just took away that period, you could still do whatever you like and capitalize on all of the other stuff. Like it. I don't know, man. Like,
they're going to bring all the heroes in anyway. It doesn't matter what period it is.
So what's the fucking point?
It doesn't matter what period it is, man. God almighty.
I played Battlefront 2 last night with one of the patrons, just in the co-op mode, which I think is way fucking better than any of the normal multiplayer, because their progression is whack, and the more you play it, you just win. Like, you just get better stuff. And that was way more my speed. Playing cooperatively, like just having a chilled out time. We sort of did the objectives, but it was mainly just killing stuff. That was fun. This free-to-play multiplayer thing, maybe I am prejudging it too hard, but all of those kinds of games, they're just not my thing. It's just not my scene. So
we'll just see what the gameplay is like. There wasn't much there.
I mean, it could be really good. It could, turn me ahead.
Hopefully it features like a huge, quite a big production budget. So they've put some thought and some. It doesn't mean anything these days because they mainly just throw development into the microtransaction store and stuff like that. But hopefully you get a decent game out of it. It is free to play, but I mean it's worth trying. It's a Star Wars game.
Yeah, it's free.
On the Switch,
I love Star Wars.
There you go.
I immediately said to my girlfriend after they announced it, I was like, "Oh, so it's basically Star Wars Fortnite." And she's like, "Well, why didn't they just put Fortnite Star Wars skins? Why don't they put Star Wars skins in Fortnite?" And I just looked at her and I was like, "They already did. They've done that. They've burnt that bridge already by putting Kylo Ren or whatever in it. So now they're just going to do their own version." But I know I'm being cynical. I know I'm prejudging it. Maybe it'll be good, but I just don't have a lot of faith.
You're also channeling the inner thoughts of a lot of viewers as well. So
I hope so.
I'm glad you are here serving a purpose. Next up, Monster Hunter Rise. Which is a new Monster Hunter game. This is coming March the 26th, though. This is pretty soon. Not really much to say about it. It's got monsters, and you're hunting them, and the game's coming. It looks like a Nintendo Switch game as well. I mean, it looks like it was. I don't know the specifics, but it looks like it was developed for the Nintendo Switch because obviously limitations of the hardware. It looks like it's not like a huge release further. I don't know, to be honest. Is it coming?
There's two at the moment, and I get them mixed up because they announced them at the same time. There's Monster Hunter Rise, and then there's another one. One is exclusively for the Switch, and I think the other one is coming to the Switch first. But like Monster Hunter, like it looks cool. When it came on, I was like, "Oh, this looks interesting." And I always like the look of Monster Hunter, but I never really jump into it because there's so much there. Like Monster Hunter World, I was like, this looks really cool, but fuck me, there's a lot of stuff to get your head around. So like, maybe eventually I will. One thing I think I picked up is this is running on the RE engine, which is like it did Resident Evil 7, 2, 3, and is doing 8 as well. But also did Devil May Cry, and is a absolutely gorgeous engine. Like it's one of the best looking ones around right now. So I was really impressed that they somehow have managed to get that to cooperate and work on the Nintendo Switch. So maybe that's a sign of more RE engine games coming to the Switch, like Resident Evil 2, which was my game of the year for, when was it, 2018? No, 2019. Maybe. But yeah, more stuff to come. Capcom seems to have a really good relationship with Nintendo at the moment, because there's a few Capcom things in this Direct. So
sure. So there's a bunch of other... I'm just going to dart through them now. If you've got anything to say, feel free to interrupt me, Henry. So otherwise, we'll be here all day. So next up is Me-topia, I get that right, which is a hilarious adventure with friends, family, anyone you choose, apparently.
I'll be the judge of whether it's hilarious, thank you very much.
It's coming out on May the 21st. I don't really know much about that. You can customize, expanded customization, including wigs, makeup, and making your Me characters look fabulous. More fabulous than ever. There you go, if that's your type of thing. Next up, Knockout City, which is a team-based multiplayer game, which is dodgeball, but it ain't dodgeball, it's dodge brawl, which is coming to Nintendo Switch on May the 21st.
This one did look pretty cool. Like, I don't know if I'll, ever buy it or whatever, but it did look interesting. A very Rocket League kind of vibe with the extreme sports kind of thing. But yeah, I thought it looked kind of cool, but I don't really know anything else about it.
Yeah, I want to check out the reviews around launch, that's for sure. Next up, Fall Guys. Everyone's heard of it. It's coming to the Switch this summer. Nothing more to say about that, really. Next up, DC Superhero... Sorry.
The Fall Guys, I think it's the perfect game for the Switch. For, like, the party game that's kind of kid-friendly and fun and silly. The only thing I think it needs, which I don't think this announcement said, is it needs local multiplayer. It needs local co-op, especially on the Switch. 2 Joy-Cons, get one each, and then just fuck each other up.
Yeah.
That's what the game really needs. Because I've been talking about it with my mates for ages. Because I think we've got it on like PlayStation together, but if we can all do it together, obviously with lockdown and COVID and all that crap, everyone together, like 4 Joy-Cons, assuming one of them ever actually works and doesn't drift the whole fucking time. That's what Fall Guys is for, and I think it's perfect for that. And they're almost there, but they're not quite yet. And I think Switch is a perfect opportunity for that.
Yeah, it is a good point that these multiplayer games for Switch is good. It's good. It's a good addition to the roster, I think. Next up, DC Superhero Girls Teen Power. So if you want to be Batgirl, Supergirl, Wonder Woman as teenager, if you ever had that fantasy, then you can now on June the 4th, because this game is being released.
I mean,
nothing to say about that? No? Okay, let's move on.
Just move quickly.
Next up, Famicom Detective Club, and it's 2 of these games. One called The Missing Heir, as in the person who comes after you, the heir, or the your not hair as in on your head. Just clarify that. Not searching for a wig, searching for somebody. I know I butchered everything. And the second game, The Girl Who Stands Behind. So these are like detective games, and they're both coming on May the 4th. Of being the first time to come to the West, coming out of Japan for the first time. And there you go. So that if you're interested in that, check that out. Next up, another game coming to the Switch that everyone's familiar with, Apex Legends. So again, another same kind of ballpark as the Fall Guys we just mentioned. This is coming on March the 9th. Good addition, I think. A free game. A lot of fun to be had.
I think it's a good one, especially. Yeah, I think it's a good one, especially for Respawn and EA, because Fortnite is on everything, and that's really helped it, blossom even further. So I think it's good. And I think I prefer Apex to Fortnite. I think of the Battle Royale kind of mini boom that's been going on, I think Apex is probably my favourite out of the ones I've played anyway.
Yeah. All right, next up, Plants vs. Zombies Battle for Neighborville Complete Edition. So this is coming March the 19th, so if you're a Plants vs. Zombies fan, check that out. That's pretty soon. Legends of Mana, which is a beloved JRPG classic from Square Enix, is coming on June the 24th to Nintendo Switch. So a lot of things coming in the next 3 or 4 months. That's for sure. Next up, another huge game, or like a highly acclaimed game, The Outer Wilds, or Outer Wilds, is coming to Nintendo Switch this summer. A lot of people like that game, or at least a lot of people's Game of the Year lists, that's for sure. And it seems like a good fit for the Nintendo Switch again. It's the right kind of graphics, not too intensive on the hardware of the Switch. It seems like it's a good fit all round for the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, people really liked The Outer Wilds, but I never got around to it. So now it's on Switch, I feel like that's more of the the casual sitting on the sofa kind of vibe. So I may pick this one up at some point.
Yeah, there you go. Next up, Samurai Warriors 5. That's coming out this summer. Don't really have much to say about that, unless you do.
Nope.
Next up, World's End Club, coming the 28th of May. Again, don't really much know about that. And then Animal Crossing New Horizons has some DLC, and it's coming on February 25th, which is in a week's time, and it's Super Mario Brothers themed. So it's inspired by the 35th anniversary of Super Mario Brothers, and it's basically just a bunch of... It's got a free update, but it's a bunch of DLC in there too, which you can probably buy. So that's, they're just trying to make money out of you, aren't they? What they leaf coins or whatever they're called. I don't know what it is, but it's Super Mario themed, and it's going to cost you some money in the long run. Next up, Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, and this is 2 expansions or 2 waves of DLC that are coming to Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. So there are newly added character stages and more. The first one's coming in June, and the second one coming in November. The expansion pass you can buy, which includes both of DLC, for $20, and there you go. You also, I'm not going to read out that because that's just marketing bullshit. So you get early access. You get bonuses for ordering early, which I'm not ever going to promote. Next up, Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection. So this is a new game. Features local co-op play. So the co-op mode. In the co-op mode, you can be Barry, who defends the character. You can be Barry for defense, Kerry for transportation, or Archie for bridges. So you can't play like 2 playable characters. You can play one main character and then a support character, which does those things. That's coming out February 25th, which leads us on to Capcom Arcade Stadium, which is out now. This is basically a collection of Capcom arcade classics. You can get one for free called The Battle of Midway, and then on top of that you can purchase different packs of games. Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection, which is like an add-on to your collection. That's part of it. There's a bunch of other Capcom games. You name them all. Capcom with the main lot of arcade games back in the day, back in the 80s, 90s. If you can think of it, Capcom made it, and they're all coming to the Nintendo Switch, which is actually huge for retro gaming enthusiasts. That's for sure. I can't. Have you got a list of any games in there?
Okay, I think this is a list, but it's all logos, so I might take a moment to translate them. Volgus, Higemaru, 1942, Commando, Ghosts and Goblins, Section 7 or Section Z? I don't know. No idea what that is. That says in a language I can't read. Tatsukai no Banka, apparently that's what it says. Legendary Wings, Bionic Commando, 1943, The Battle of Midway, which is that the freebie you get straight away. Forgotten Worlds, Ghouls and Ghosts, I think I already said. Strider, Dynasty Wars, not Dynasty Warriors, Dynasty Wars. Final Fight, 1941. Counterattack, Senjo no Okami 2, Mega Twins, Carrier Airwing, Street Fighter 2, The World Warrior, Captain Commander. Oh my god, there's so many. Varth, Operation Thunderstorm, Warriors of Fate, Street Fighter 2 Hyper Fighting, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. Capcom never stop re-releasing the same game, do they? They just keep going. Powdered Gear, Strategic Variant Armor Equipment, Cyberbots Full Metal Madness, 19XX, The War Against Destiny, Battle Circuit, Giga Wing, 1944 The Loot Master, Pro Gear. Fuck me, they keep going. Oh no, we're back to the beginning now.
There you go. So there's 32 games. There's 3 individual packs, but you can just buy the all-in pack containing 32 games. I don't know how much I've got a press release here, but I don't know how much that's going to cost you. So that's available anyway for those of you who are interested in that. Yeah. Where am I now? Okay, No More Heroes 3 is coming out on August 27th. I'll just fire these off now. Neon White is a first-person action game coming to Nintendo Switch in the summer from the creator of Donut County. So if you're familiar with Donut County, you look out for that one. Bravely Default 2 is another default JRPG by the looks of it, coming on February 26th. There is a free demo available to try out, available right now. So that, again, in another week's time. It is a week, isn't it? Yeah, it's the 18th. So again, another free demo we like. Tales from the Borderlands collection is coming, which includes all 5 episodes of Tales from the Borderland, set between Borderlands 2 and Borderlands 3, coming on March the 24th. Good stuff. Stubbs the Zombie in Rebel Without a Pulse is a game, apparently, and that's coming on March the 16th. Hades, the physical release was announced as a big thing. The physical release comes with an original soundtrack and a 32-page full-color character compendium. If you're interested in that, it's coming.
If
on
I
March
didn't
19th.
already own it, I would have definitely bought this.
Yeah, there you go. Ninja Gaiden Master Collection, which includes 3 games, is coming to Nintendo Switch on June the 10th. And the very last one, thankfully, Saga Frontier Remastered is coming on April the 15th. I don't know much about that game either, but that is a game. There you go, Henry.
That it is.
I got through it. There you go. I got through it all.
That was
and
almost as much a slog as watching it live.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. But there wasn't really much for me, I'll be honest. And it did feel like that they'd just not bothered, because they do these Nintendo Direct minis a lot of the time, just to get rid of the third-party indie games.
Yeah.
Just get rid of them, sweep them under the carpet and announce them. And then when it comes to these like mainline Nintendo Directs, which this was, usually they're quite concise on the first-party Nintendo games, which it was a bit weird because they were all mixed in here, and there was just so many of them. They didn't really, nothing really stood out, and I don't know.
It could very easily have just been a
Nintendo
mini.
Direct.
Yeah. It should have just been a mini or 2 minis or a back-to-back mini or something, because it was like 50 minutes long. So there was quite a lot of stuff, as I'm sure you could tell. We just read out a million different games. But there was nothing, there was no showstoppers apart from maybe Splatoon, like, because they finished with it. And people do seem to be happy about it, which is awesome. But like, it's not, a really big talking point. Like,
It's
I don't
not a
think
sports
anyone's
story,
gonna...
is it? You know what I mean? If they come out with a sports story and announced and to release, then it'd be a different story. If you expect, if you pardon the pun. But yeah, it wasn't that, and we were underwhelmed, to say the least. But if you were,
I wasn't expecting anything, and I was still let down. Well, not let down. Even let down is still a bit overselling.
Well, you invest like, let's say 35 minutes if you watch it on time and a half. So invest 35 minutes of your time watching Nintendo Direct. You expect at least something to come out, and you think, oh, that can be interesting. I guess Outer Wilds was the notable one.
Yeah, it's just the fact they got the Breath of the Wild 2 guy to come out and it's like, I bet you're excited about Breath of the Wild 2. Well, too fucking bad. We're not telling you shit. We're not telling you a goddamn thing.
I actually appreciated that, because
I did. It was better than not saying anything.
Yeah, he was there to announce the Legend of
Skyward
Skyward Sword, and instead of just saying, by the way, it's Skyward Sword, and not talking about Breath of the Wild 2, which would have angered
that would have been
people.
Like
he
a
was
bait
like,
and switch.
Yeah, he was like, well, I bet you can't wait to hear about Breath of the Wild 2. Unfortunately, we don't have any information about that now. I'm sorry. But in the meantime, check out this game. I like that. He's considering people's feelings. Because he could have just like come out and not said anything about Breath of the Wild 2 and announced like a mobile game, like mobile Breath of the Wild 3 or whatever, and just pissed off the whole community and asked them if they don't have phones or whatever. He could have done that, but they didn't.
As a minor consolation, I'm pretty sure he did say they were going to share Breath of the Wild 2 stuff soon. I mean, who knows what soon really means. I think he said at some point this year, but I mean, we're at the beginning of the year, so we have most of the year left to go. But at least that was something. Maybe they're going to do a little something at some point. But on the whole, this Direct was kind of just... It came and it went for me. Nothing really struck me.
The main problem is for... thinking about and like analysing what this was and how much it fulfilled what expectation I've got. It's like, but start of the year, hardly any new games are coming out. We're just starved of games, just starved of news. There's nothing interesting. And then Nintendo Direct happens, yes. And then again, it's just like, meh, there's not a lot happening. But that's just how the industry is. It slows down in January, February. Everyone's got the games at Christmas. Nobody spends a lot in January, February, whatever. So that's it. We're just like frustrated. We want more stuff, and we're all locked at home, and we want this bloody lockdown to end so we can go outside and get some fresh air again. We can't do that, and we're taking all our frustrations on Nintendo. They don't deserve it, but there it is. They are the brunt of our bad feelings today. However, you did play a game. You played The Medium, which is a new game.
It came out on January 20 something, so not ages ago, but it's one of the first. It's not really a AAA game or anything like that, but it's had a bit of a marketing bump because I think Microsoft are helping. It's got a timed exclusive or something with Microsoft, so that it's kind of got a little bit of a name for itself, let's say. But so yeah, it's by Bloober Team, and they developed it and published it, but they've got this distribution relationship with Microsoft, but they still own it. And you may remember them as the team who did the Blair Witch a couple of years ago, which seemed to be reasonably successful. I think people quite liked it. It was kind of a shock game, like no one expected it, and then there's a Blair Witch game. Blair Witch hasn't been relevant for years, but they did one. So I played it through Game Pass for PC, and despite it being on PC, it still had a lot of performance issues, which was a real problem. And one of the biggest downsides of it, because altogether I'm still kind of mixed on it. Like, I don't know how much I really like it. I definitely liked some bits, and I really wasn't vibing with other bits. So basically, it's about a girl who can communicate with dead people, and she has got like supernatural powers, and she can like see the other side and the spirit world, and she helps people. When they die, she helps their spirit go to the next place and not get stuck in this horrible, horrible purgatory kind of place. And its big gimmick is that it's got this like split screen feature where you can see into the real world and the spirit world at the same time, and you act in both of them. They're both completely in sync, which looks really cool. And it's one of the new features of like, all the new generation of SSDs on the new consoles. This is the game that's really, now we can use all this extra loading power. It's unfortunately that the feature isn't used anywhere near enough. When it is used, it's cool, and there's some really interesting visual stuff going on, especially in cutscenes where it's like you're seeing the same thing but from different perspectives, and she'll be chatting to someone who's not really there, and the world will be influenced by that, which is really cool. But it doesn't use it anywhere near enough, I don't think.
Yeah.
And in its defense, while its performance was generally pretty up and down, the split screen stuff didn't actually have that much of an effect. Like, when it was split screen, it didn't tank the performance any more than it already was, which leads me to believe that it's not that feature which is causing the problems, it's just poorly optimized, which is something that can hopefully be fixed over time. But as it stands right now, there was a frame rate cap of 60 FPS, and even then it still barely did it. Like, it was constantly up and down between like 40 odd, which is like it's fine, but it's not good. Like,
good
it's not
enough,
it's not what I expect from like, I've got a very good PC now. But so it's supposed to be like a horror, psychological horror kind of game. I'm not sure I'd really call it a horror, and it's kind of like a semantics game, but I didn't find it scary. I found it like uncomfortable and tense, but it wasn't scary, you know? Like, there's a couple of jump scares, and a lot of them are very predictable as jump scares are, but there was one that like legitimately got me really good, and I was like, okay, fair play, that was a solid jump scare. But most of it's like spooky goings on and like creepy music. The music is excellent. Horror games, they have to have good music, and that really stands out to me. But that was all really cool, but it's not like I wasn't scared, if that makes sense. And maybe that's just me. I find it quite difficult to get scared by stuff. But I don't know, I just wouldn't really call it a horror thing. I'd probably call it a psychological mystery thriller puzzle game more than anything, because there's no combat. You don't really fight stuff.
Wikipedia
it's not like
says it's a psychological horror, so playing both sides there.
I mean, horror, maybe it depends on your definition, but I wouldn't call it horror because it didn't scare me. It made me kind of like tense and stressed out at times, but I wasn't scared. So yeah, there's no combat or anything. It's certainly not running around busting ghosts or anything like that. It's mainly puzzles, and you'll be in like the real world, and then you'll come into a room, and then her head will go a bit crazy, and then the world will split, and then you interact with both realities, I suppose. And there'll be like a door locked in one world, so then you've got to figure out the solution in the other at the same time, because they both run parallel, like you can see them exactly the same time, which is cool. But again, it doesn't use it anywhere near enough. And it's fixed camera, which I didn't really know going in. So it was a bit of a surprise. And fixed camera, it's obviously calling back to old school games like Resident Evil was back in the day, or I never played it, but Silent Hill was that as well. And again, that's very psychological, kind of weird stuff. And I did kind of enjoy it, but it didn't have, because it's not got any combat or anything, a lot of the tension that a game with fixed camera stuff can have wasn't there. It was just, it's just fixed camera. Like, fixed camera's great for hiding stuff around corners or not being able to see the enemy that's trying to get you, but that doesn't really happen. Like, there's a couple of set pieces where there's this creature trying to get you. Most of them are on rails and you're just running away. There's a big dramatic thing. But then there's a couple where you've got to like do some sort of phony stealth stuff. And yeah, they're quite tense, but it's not like they're using the fixed camera to hide where he is so you're on edge or something, if that makes any sense. Yeah. Like, I played Resident Evil 3, the original one, years and years and years ago, and I remember being so terrified because I could hear Nemesis coming, but I couldn't see him. And then he shot a rocket at me that came across the screen, and I just completely shat the bed. I must have been like 8. But the gameplay itself is very, very simple. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it is what it is. But I quite liked the story. Like, it deals with some very, very serious and mature stuff, and it handles it well. Like, I don't want to spoil anything, because and a lot of it's quite unpleasant. The game even has a trigger warning at the beginning, because some of the stuff's pretty ropey. But like, it deals with trauma and like an abuse, and it doesn't ever glorify it or even really sensationalize it. It's like, this is bad. This is really fucking shit. This character's been through this, and this. This may explain why they are the way they are now, and that was this behavior in this person was caused by behavior in another person. It's all this like cycle of trauma that they're all broken people, breaking people basically. And I thought that was really cool. And the story itself is told in quite a deliberately like fragmented, fractured way, which again I kind of liked, but it took a minute to kind of get on board with it, because your character, she's like an undertaker, or she works at an undertaker's, and because she can help people pass on, she's at the funeral home, and then when they die, she can say la-di-da, blah, 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 go be free, go to heaven, or whatever. And then she gets this call out of the blue to visit this old like hotel resort thing, and that'll like solve all of her problems. Like, why is she the way she is? Why is she this medium who can speak to dead people and whatever? So she does that, and then you kind of find out what happened to this holiday resort thing, because it's a fucking shithole. Like, it's fallen apart. Everything's like rotten. There's rain coming over it, exposed, the broken shit. It's a dump, and you kind of slowly figure out what happened there. But a lot of it's through like reading notes from people you have no idea who they are. But then when you these are clues, and you sort of put them together yourself. The game never tells you anything like that. It's not like, here's a note from person A, here's another note, is this from person A too, or is it from person B? Can you you just kind of get a feel for, oh, this is this person, and later on you maybe meet them, maybe you don't. And I think that was really interesting, but it did take me a minute to kind of get on that wavelength of like, you're giving me so little information, I don't really know what's going on. And then it kind of started to work for me. I don't really know how to describe it. It took a moment, but then I got with it.
Yeah.
And I really, really like the ending. Unfortunately, it is just in a cutscene, but it's the most interesting use of the split screen mechanics. Everything comes together. Most of the mysteries are being answered, and then there's the split screen, so you can see the real world and the spirit world, and it all kind of meshes together. And it's this big crescendo moment of all of this horrific stuff you've read about, and some of it you've even experienced. And I thought that was really, really cool. But then I was just like, fuck, I wish this was a gameplay thing. I wish I had more agency, because the game is so linear, which again, there's nothing really wrong with linear games, but in a focused space like this, you're in the hotel for basically the whole game, but you can't really explore it. Like, you go where the game wants you to go, and it funnels you really down. And I think it's just kind of antiquated now, when we've seen games like, even Resident Evil back in the day, Resident Evil 2, you would explore and crisscross around the police station. You'd open doors and it'd give you shortcuts and stuff. Yeah. I think something a bit more expansive like that, giving the player a bit more control, a bit more agency, would really help. Because most of the stuff you find, like the notes and stuff, you have to find them. It's not like it's sneaky stuff that's hidden off the corner like an Easter egg. Oh, this is this interesting little tidbit. You're in a room, there's one thing to do in that room, and that's pick up this note and read it. And then interpret who that person is maybe and what role they play. It's very scripted and linear, and I just think it could have been more, especially with this interesting mechanic of being like split screened in two realities. I think it could have been more. So that's what I mean. I'm kind of in the middle on it. I mean, there's some really cool shit in it, but I want it to be bigger, you know?
Yeah, I understand that. Is that maybe a symptom of because it's not quite a AAA developer and they had certain limitations of development that they maybe had to... I mean, think about the split screen thing and the fixed camera. The reason why they would choose that, to add psychological tension, and you can see that working because it worked so well in the other games you mentioned, Resident Evil in the past and that. But I think too, in order to fully realize like two immersive game worlds and be able to control one and have them both on screen at the same time, able to look wherever you want and like action coming at you or whatever speed, you can imagine that's going to take a lot of development resources or hardware resources, which maybe was a limitation or limiting factor why they decided to go with that fixed camera. And you said you said the performance wasn't great. It's as it was, so maybe a lot of this speaks to the fact that they're not a huge development studio.
Yeah, they're definitely a small team, but I like the fixed camera. I thought it was cool. Like I like those old school Resident Evil games, but I kind of wish that they could use it more. Like I'm not saying change it from fixed camera, keep fixed camera, but lean into its strengths a bit more. And obviously that's everything I'm saying now is easier said than done, especially for such a small team. But I know hide secrets that I can't see and.
Just thinking about who these are, number of employees under 100. They are Blooper Team, right? Polish video game developer based in Krakow. In the past, they've done Layers of Fear in 2016, Observer in 2017, Blair Witch in 2019, all of which are psychological horror, apart from Blair Witch, which is a psychological survival horror. So they pretty much do what they do. I like the fact that this game does something different.
Yes,
I like that this game comes up with a different premise where you've got like these there's two different realms on the screen at the same time. It's interesting and it's worthy of notes because they're not just following the same blueprint that other developers follow, especially these mid-tier developers where they see something that's working really well in the games industry and it's like, let's do what they've done and we'll get success. There's no guarantee of success by doing something new like this, and I like that they're trying it. So I think we should support it on that fact.
Oh, definitely,
for sure.
The split screen thing, it is cool.
AAA.
Yeah, it's not. But the split screen thing is really cool. Like when they do it, it's really interesting, and it's got this. When she does it, she has like a headache and she like screams, and there's this really horrific, piercing scream thing that happens and then it like rips apart. It's almost like the world is being torn apart, and that really adds to the stress of it because like you'll be exploring this hotel, you'll find an important item or something, or you'll trigger a memory. So there are certain objects you can interact with, and you like find a crack in them, and then you hear like an audio thing of something horrific that probably happened because nothing good ever happens with these things. It's like, it's a teddy bear. What's the teddy bear? Does someone give it a cuddle? No. They got the little girl was beaten and her blood covered it or some shit. Then the world will like split, and then you'll figure out in the spirit world, I keep wanting to call it the dream world, the spirit world, what actually happened with this object, and you can see and hear kind of fragments of the truth, and then when you come back into the real world, you can use that to inform what's going on. And much of the game is told in like past tense. It's like she's narrating over it. So I think that it can lead to a lot of like exposition, but I think that was quite a good decision to like have her almost narrate what's going on and kind of like a monologue kind of thing, like hearing what she's thinking about stuff. I think that was quite cool. But it's mainly just her. It's pretty much just you alone exploring shit, being like, damn, that's pretty fucked up. Like, there's some real bad shit, and I'm really glad that they handled it really well, and they had the confidence to try something so mature without it trying to be edgy and like, oh, look at us, we're doing this. This is the focus of our game. It's going to be about this horrific tragedy that happened. But instead, it's like, well, no, we're going to do a psychological horror. That's what it's about. And it's informed by this other stuff that's horrific. But that's not the focus. And I thought that was really cool. They handled it really well. Especially for a Polish game in the Polish language and then translated, obviously, into English and then handled like that.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So the Medium out now, released on January the 28th, I think. It's available on Epic Store, on Steam, on GOG, Xbox Series S or 1X or whatever. Not available on PlayStation. Not sure if it is coming to the PlayStation, but it is available on day one on the Game Pass for PC, right?
Yep.
Which is why you played it.
So that's interesting. Recommend trying it out. Like it takes a minute.
It's a 40 quid game. And if you got it at Game Pass, you should definitely try it out.
It's definitely it's unique at the very least. Like you should try it out because nothing has done this split screen type thing before. You may not like it, but it's worth checking out just because it's new.
There you go. So let's move on now. Thanks, Henry, for that. Next up, we are going to move to the community section, which is where we thank everybody and reward them for supporting our content. And you can support our content over on patreon.com/prettygoodgaming. If you do like the channel and the content that we bring, help us continue to make it, basically, because paying bills is hard, especially on YouTube. So some of the rewards you get early access to this podcast, you get access to the Patreon-only Discord section, and you get your name read out on this podcast. So I didn't do it last week, and we didn't have a podcast for a while before that, so I've got a bunch to read out today. So $12.76 per year was pledged by Raziel Shadows. These numbers are slightly different now because everyone can do it in their own currency, which is why they're all a bit weird. So they're just random numbers, but that's why that is. So, and also you can sign up for a yearly subscription now too. That's just one of the features that Patreon has just introduced. So thanks to Raziel Shadows for the yearly subscription, as well as Karajorama, I'm sorry I butchered your name, but thanks for the yearly pledge of $10.80. $5 per month pledged by Peter Clark. Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate that. We got a pledge by Deskanar for $13.11 per year. Thank you very much, sir. We got a $1 per month pledge by Timothy Wilson. Thanks, sir. And then we got an increase in pledge from $1
Timothy
fee.
Wilkinson.
Fuck.
You're getting all
Sorry,
these names
Timothy. And then we got an increase in pledge by Kona. Yeah, one thing I fucked this up. Let's start the podcast again. Let's delete the last hour. No, we'll persevere. Okay, one increase in pledge from $1.30 to $5 by Kona. And we appreciate all the pledges, and apologies for butchering mostly everybody's name. I'm butchering mostly everything just in general. That's just how I roll. And next up, let's reward some of those patrons by answering some questions. And if you have got a question for the podcast, leave it in the proper section on the Patreon Discord. We've got 4 questions this week. Oh, 5, sorry.
Yeah, we got. I grabbed a new one while we were talking.
Yeah, we just increased it.
Yeah,
so,
you
Henry,
give me the bloody long one again. Right, okay. This is from Ravaged. Hi guys, missed you.
Neil Roberts.
We miss you too. Before I ask my question, in response to Gaz's idea of game studios using their artists to work on films / SFX last week, having worked for both, I can honestly say it's not that easy, like firefighters doing police work and the other way around. Although skills are shared, the process and roles are very different. So game developers or game artists and stuff can't just go into the films industry. Well, there you go. We talked about it last week. Easier to just go back and watch that. Okay, now my question is about Callie Plag. I don't know how you pronounce her name. I know who she is, just to quickly clarify. It's either Kaylee or Callie, Plag or Plag it up, one of them. The GameSpot reviewer who gave Cyberpunk a 7 out of 10 but barely played any of its features. She said so herself in a podcast a few days after her review. Now, this is not about the game itself, but the way she reviewed the game. Do you think she was right to rate the game if she missed massive chunks of the game? Brackets, shopping for guns and clothes, buying new cars, crafting anything, taking part in any side quests. Or should she have passed it on to someone else? She was also the reviewer that said a Pokemon game set on an island had too much water. Cheers, guys. Neil Roberts. So I think this girl, she's kind of made us a bit of a name for herself among certain areas of the internet as being like a bad reviewer. I'm not entirely certain, but I think she did a Days Gone review and she got shouted at for that. I can't remember what she said. Don't even know if it's actually her. I might be making that up. But yeah, so with the Cyberpunk thing, I think I used her in my review roundup of Cyberpunk with 7 out of 10, which 7 out of 10 as a number, I think a lot of people would justifiably call Cyberpunk 2077, certainly at launch, a 7 out of 10 game because of its performance issues and all that. That number itself is totally fucking fine. But I completely think that her review of the game is poor and she didn't do her job correctly as a reviewer by not sampling enough of the game properly. I mean, I just don't like whenever I'm doing a review, even if I've been if I don't want to play the game anymore, you've still got to do stuff. I'm not saying you need to 100% it, but you need to sample everything. Like crafting is a useless mechanic in Cyberpunk 2077, but you wouldn't know that if you didn't do it. Like I've done crafting a bit, and I was like, oh, let's get a cool gun. It's actually worse than any gun I can just find. So it's pointless, it's a waste of time. And that's part of the reason reviewers exist, is to inform consumers about the game. It's just facts. Here's what this is like. Do you need this? This feature isn't quite as well realized as it should be because it doesn't mean anything and that you don't get anything out of it. So what's the point? Just don't bother. And I totally understand if she didn't want to play it. But if you're these big publications,
kind of job, though, right?
Yeah, these big publications are assigned it. Like I'm sure a few people will be like, oh, I'll do Cyberpunk review, and then they'll get given it. But sometimes you're just given a thing to write, and you have to do it. And I think she just totally dropped the ball for doing her job as a reviewer. This isn't a criticism of her as a journalist as a whole. I don't know enough of her work or anything like that. But to me, that's a fail of a review. And should she have passed it on to someone else? Yeah, probably. Or she should have just done it herself. Like, you may not like it, but you have to do it. You know?
Yeah. I think the main... There's a lot of things that it kind of raises here. I think the fact that she's paid to do a review, whether she likes it or not, is one of the issues, because she obviously didn't enjoy the game and didn't play it to its fullest because she couldn't be asked, right? If you like the game, you could be asked and you play it. Like... The fact that these reviewers I've got like a certain time schedule to get the review out by, and if you're having to blitz a game that you don't really like, you can see her not wanting to play it, and that can be an issue. The other thing that it brings up is like people have to realise that reviews aren't the be-all and end-all, right? A review is one person's opinion, and it doesn't really matter what one person thinks about the game. And you should take it all in context. If someone's getting angry with her over a review, just allow her opinion about the game, and don't get angry about it. Yeah, all right, she's paid to do it, but she's also in the unenviable position where she may have to play a game and blitz a game where she doesn't really like. It's like torture to I can't imagine being forced to play a game that I really don't like. Right, she's giving Days Gone a 5 out of 10. I don't agree with that. I'm not going to hold her against her. It just means she didn't like the game. So what? It doesn't mean that I have to get angry with her, and it just means that she is not the kind of reviewer that I should be listening to, because the games she likes are not the same as the game I like. That doesn't mean that she's wrong, or I'm right. It doesn't mean anything at all. It means that I need to go and find a reviewer that better reflects the games that I like and appreciates the games that I like. I mean, it is what it is. There's a lot of lessons to be learned here, but she didn't do a good enough job She didn't play the game enough in order for me to appreciate her review. So therefore, I'm going to take her review with a pinch of salt. I'm going to ignore her review. That is the end of it. I'm not going to get angry with her. I'm not going to start shouting at GameSpot or whoever it was. I'm just not going to invest myself like that. There are more important things in the world to get upset about than this one girl's distaste for like adult games. So what? No big deal.
And I think she got quite a lot of flack, if I remember rightly, when the game launched and this review made the rounds. Like, I mean, anytime anyone says anything, if you're at that, like a mainstream popular outlet, you're just going to get dogpiled by people like, I don't agree with what you said. But yeah, like if you don't, I think her review is poor, so I'm not going to, engage with any of her other opinions. That's it. That's that's the end of it.
Bottom line,
I don't need to listen to what she has to say.
Move on with your bloody life. Yeah, there you go. So it's up to GameSpot whether they want to keep giving her those games. It's like she's in a bad situation. She doesn't want to play a game that she doesn't like. GameSpot are in a position where, is it GameSpot? Am I?
Yeah, it's GameSpot.
Yeah, I think they should just trigger and raising the question also is like, should you always review a game in a genre that you traditionally like or enjoy? Like, is that logical? Would you rather somebody be more objective to a game in a genre where they don't usually play, or would you rather somebody review a game who are familiar with those types of games with the same kind of adult-y themes or whatever, whatever it is? As an example, is that important to you? I don't know. I think, is GameSpot responsible for this?
I think as a reviewer, you have a responsibility to provide as much context for your review as you can. So if she doesn't like first-person shooters or Western RPGs, or she doesn't even like the cyberpunk genre, sci-fi stuff, whatever, I think it's your responsibility to say that up front. Be like, this isn't typically my kind of game, and that may inform why I do like it or why I don't like it. Like, I'm never going to review a JRPG because I don't like JRPGs. I don't play JRPGs. I mean, you could argue that Final Fantasy VII Remake is a JRPG, but it's not like a traditional JRPG. But yeah, I'm not gonna do that because I don't like those games. But if I had to, then you have to disclose that. So I think my what was it, Assassin's Creed Valhalla review, I made it clear right at the beginning, saying my review, professional review, if that makes sense, of this game will be influenced by the fact that I had to review it. Like, my enjoyment of it is influenced by the fact that I had to play it to completion end to end. Because if you don't play the whole fucking game and you review it, you're a shit reviewer. That's the end of it. But I had to play that game quite quickly and came through it, and I liked it. I really liked it for like the first 30 hours. Then after that, for the next 30 or 40, it didn't change. Like, the game didn't improve; it got worse. Because all of the problems I had got compounded. And for people who say that there's no such thing as a game that is too long, you're wrong, because most of the games that you list, I've sunk this many hours into this game. Yeah, that's a game you fucking liked, if Assassin's Creed Valhalla's story is too fucking long because it's too fucking slow and it doesn't teach you anything new, doesn't give you new mechanics. And so I made the point to say that having to play it in such a focused time frame, that's influencing my review. One of my mates, he's playing it. He's been playing it since launch, and he still hasn't finished it because he does it like a little bit at a time, and he's having a great time. So context like that, I think, is so key to highlight. Yeah. Like, if she doesn't like Cyberpunk, that's
absolutely
fine. Right.
For sure. I think the more information you put, more information in the review about your personal biases and preferences, or what conditions you played the game under that might affect the review itself, that's only going to help people. And the fact that she's maybe not disclosed that in a review, and then in a podcast a couple of days later she said I didn't really play all the game, then that just sets alarm bells for me. It's like, I'm not going to read her review and take anything she says with any seriousness at all, because she's not the kind of reviewer that I appreciate, who appreciates the same kind of games as me. That be the end of it. Thanks for the question anyway, Neil Roberts. Let's move on to Simply Phil, who asks, aside from Total Warhammer 3, what do you think Creative Assembly are working on as they are doing another mass hire exercise and states it is a new IP? Could this be the first-person shooter they hinted at a while back? Well, Creative Assembly are known for their Total War series and all the grand strategy games of the like. We've heard of a lot of them. Total War Warhammer was the third one's going to be released soon, but Medieval Total War was the very first game that I played on PC, and oh my god, it set me up for PC gaming my whole life. But I've played many Creative Assembly games in the past, but apparently now in 2018 and September the 1st 2018 they announced that they're working on a first-person shooter game, and they say the team behind Alien Isolation, which they created, and Halo Wars 2 are working on an exciting brand new sci-fi shooter. So that's interesting. Obviously, no word has come out since, I haven't seen anything much talked about this game, but they are hiring now. So Simply feels excited by the sounds of it, and I am too, because I do appreciate a Creative Assembly game. I don't play them all. I don't. I missed the Warhammer series because they're just not for me, that fantasy strategy game. But I am interested in what they come up with in terms of first-person shooter, because that would be interesting. I wish I had more to tell you, Phil, or to speculate. But it definitely could be the first-person shooter, because it is a new IP which ticks that box, and they're hiring loads of people to. They're ramping up production by the sounds of it, and it's a game that they announced in 2018, so it should be due this year, next year. It takes 3, 4, 5 years to develop a new IP, maybe a couple of years more than that, depending on the size of the game, but it would make sense if that was the game. Any other thoughts that anyone's got leave us in the comments. Sorry, I think there's a delay today. I think we keep talking over each other, don't we?
Yeah, I think there is a bit. It's probably Zoom being a little bitch as usual. I think the main Creative Assembly game I've played is Alien Isolation, and I love Alien Isolation. So if this new FPS is even remotely like that, especially because it's the same team, or some of the same team at least, then I'm definitely well up for it, because that game is just... That's a fucking horror game. That's a scary game.
It's a chef's kiss.
Exactly. Right. Am I the next? Yes, I'm the next one. This is Tons. So the Direct... I think we might have actually... kind of covered this earlier, but let's go for it anyway. So the Direct is past, and it wasn't that great. Naturally, gamers TM are upset children that they are. Yes, myself slightly included. But are they right to be upset with Nintendo? Did Nintendo create hype they didn't deliver? Or do these children need to temper their expectations a bit? Because who doesn't love more anime sword boys for Smash? We've kind of jovially taking the piss out of it, but there are people who scream and shout and throw their toys out of the pram on YouTube comments and Twitter threads and stuff. But I think big reactions like that are often hyperbolic anyway and exaggerated. If you ask the person in the real world, they're probably not gonna go absolutely berserk. I mean, maybe some people. Yeah, true. All right, I take it back.
I think he's doing a disservice to kids here, because I think kids love that. If I was a kid seeing that Nintendo Direct and I owned a Nintendo Switch, I'll be like really excited, like all these new games right now. Yeah, amazing. I think what you're talking about is man-childs, like people who are grown adults acting like kids, getting pissed off by a company on the internet. About mainly kids games. Let's be honest. I think. The majority of those the games announced on the Switch were geared towards and aimed, like Splatoon 3 for example. It's like kids game, isn't it? That's the way I think about it anyway. Maybe I'm wrong, but there is just so many grown man-childs, let's call them, who just need to learn to control their emotions a little bit better than worse than some kids are controlling emotions, I think.
I mean, it's easy to think that Direct was shit and not scream like a baby. I think we've proven that. Like, I thought it was shit, but whatever. Like, I'll carry on with my day.
Yeah. There you go. Thanks for the question, Tons. Moving on, Marcus Hicks. Assuming that all upcoming 2021 games will stick to the release dates, which games are you looking forward to most and why?
Ooh, do you want to go first? What have you got? Oh, you got to get a list up.
I'm quickly doing a research. I'm not sure what games are coming out this year. That's the problem. Horizon Forbidden West is a big one. Halo Infinite, Far Cry 5, Deathloop, Resident Evil Even Village, Back 4 Blood, Ratchet and Clank, Little Nightmares 2 is already out, Gotham Knights, Monster Hunter Rise, Ghostwire Tokyo, Mass Effect Legendary Edition. Anything tickle you?
I mean,
fancy? From
it's kind of two at the moment. My number one is, my number one I don't believe is going to happen. My number one is God of War, but I don't believe that's going to come out this year. Horizon's up there, but again, I'm still kind of skeptical about Horizon, whether that's going to make it. So my current number one that I actually expect to happen, and the one I'm letting myself get excited about, let's put it that way, is Deathloop. I'm really, really interested in Deathloop. I've been kind of on that train since their first like CG trailer, because I was like, oh, in concept this is really cool, but it's by Arcane, and Arcane did Dishonored, and I fucking love Dishonored. Then they brought out some gameplay, which was like it's a first-person shooter, but it's got Arcane's twist of making it kind of unusual and changing things. And I think it's a 8 minute time loop, and you've got to assassinate a bunch of targets while another assassin is trying to kill you and kill them. And I think that assassin can be played by a real person, so there's a bit of like PvP element to it, which sounds really quite interesting. And it sounds fucking awesome. I really want to play Deathloop, but it's not out till May, and it's kind of fucking bumming me out. I think it's PS5 timed exclusive, also on PC at launch, and then Xbox is coming later, I believe. I mean, I don't know that for sure.
Yeah.
My
I don't
other
know
one,
if I'm excited by... Sorry, carry on.
Any of them. So you go. I've got another one, but you.
Yeah, so it's just this lag. I start talking after you pause, and it's like, you can't really tell. So apologies for anyone who's been put off by the fact we're talking over each other, but it's just the connection today is really bad. Yeah, as I was saying, I don't think I'm excited for much this year. I think last year kind of spoiled us. There was a bunch of decent games, and then Cyberpunk was expected towards the end, and everyone was really hyped for that. I don't feel any sort of hype anymore. Maybe it's because I've been burnt by Cyberpunk, but Deathloop I'm interested in. I'll definitely check it out. Whether I'll get it day one or not is another question. I liked Far Cry 5, so I might try Far Cry 6. Don't know, we'll see. Mass Effect Legendary Edition, I'll take a look. But Horizon Forbidden West, good. God of War, kind of excited. I wasn't the biggest fan of the other God of War. Don't lynch me for that. I just have a preference. I don't know. I'm just underwhelmed by the offerings this year. Maybe it's just me.
I do feel kind of like that, especially at the moment where there's kind of not really much going on. But once the ball gets rolling, I think once you've got your first like Game of the Year contender, that's when I feel like the conversation gets interesting. It's like, oh, this is the one. Now let's see if anything can beat it, Yeah. But the other one I'm really interested in, which we've seen virtually nothing of, but their Twitter page is always active, so it keeps popping up, is Kenna Bridge of Spirits, which was announced ages ago, like sometime last year, with a big bunch of other PlayStation 5 games, and it's very sort of Zelda-esque and quite a little bit Disney, but I just think it looks really cool and really cute, and that's meant to be coming out in March at some point, but there's no actual date yet. And again, I'm skeptical if that'll make it, because it's in a matter of days it's March and there's no date yet. But I really quite fancy Kenna. It just looks fun and like a fairy tale. Looks nice.
Biomutant is due out. That's one to look out for. I think May the 25th. That's due.
Biomutant, again, I've been waiting for it, but I still don't believe it's going to happen. They've been radio silent for so long, but I'm like, I don't want to get burnt, but I really like the look of Biomutant.
Yeah. There you go. Thanks for the question, Mr. Marcus Hicks.
Okay, is this me now? I think I've got the last one from...
Yes.
Let's figure out how to pronounce this one. Togt. T-O-G-T. Well, TOGT 500. Let's just leave it at that. Hello, I would like to ask if you have had the chance to play Baldur's Gate 3 with its latest patch, and if so, how are your feelings for the game so far? Thank you for this podcast, and keep up the good work. Well, thank you very much for the question. Baldur's Gate 3, so it's in early access at the moment, right? And it's not coming officially out for a while. They've kind of said it's not come out. I think it's 2022? I might be making that up. I think that's the case. So it's going to sit in early access for a while. They're going to add a bunch of stuff. I think they've just added a new class. I think it's Druid, but I might be mistaken. And Baldur's Gate, I'm like 5 minutes away from buying into it, getting it on early access because it looks fucking awesome. I played one of the Baldur's Gates years and years and years ago. It wasn't a turn-based one. It was a real-time combat one. It looks great, and I kind of want a big RPG, like a modern, high budget RPG like that kind of RPG based on the Dungeons and Dragons kind of way of doing things. I just want that. I think that's an itch I really want scratched right now, and Baldur's Gate 3 might be it. But I am slightly hesitant. Not early access because of like, oh, it's going to run like shit. I just don't want it to end. Like, I don't want to play through it and then it ends. But I think this early access is meant to be like quite extensive. Like, they've given you a lot of stuff to play through before the full game comes out. But no, I haven't played it yet, and I probably will at some point soon.
Yeah, me too. I like the idea of it. I don't like the idea of it being early access, and I've been put off by early access games in the past because you don't get the full fat experience. It's like the reason I don't want to play Cyberpunk right now because I want to wait till it's patched to a point where I can enjoy it on my first playthrough and not be spoilt for any of the story beats or anything like that, and enjoy it as it was, as it was envisioned, as it was supposed to be enjoyed. So for that reason, I think I know it's a different type of game to Cyberpunk, but I think I just like to appreciate a game when it's ready. And I know
I kind of feel the same.
I just rather just wait. I think that's just my preference now. If I'm going to play it, I'm going to play it once probably. I'm not going to play it multiple times. So if I'm going to play it, I might as well wait until it's done and complete.
That's probably my biggest kind of barrier. Cause I don't want to buy into it in early access, play the shit out of that, love it, and then when the full release comes around, just kind of be in a different place, not really be in the mood for it. So that's another reason I've been hesitant.
I think the exception I might make is for Valheim, because it's Valheim, isn't it? Because it's a multiplayer survival game, and I think survival games are, and the fact that it's multiplayer as well gives you that extra dimension. But I think I can probably get away with getting that and not feel like I'm missing out on a decent experience, because it's all about the people that you play with, I guess, and the experiences that you have as a community, rather than if it's a single player game or whatever, you play it and enjoy it like that. So I might break my rule for Valheim, but other than that,
Valheim does look interesting.
Early access games,
especially because Valheim's it's not full price. It's like 15 quid or something.
16 quid. I can't
remember. Yeah.
There you go. All right, so let's move on then to the next segment in this podcast, which is the Triggered Fanboy Comment of the Week. All right, Henry, are you ready? Azuma G is the Triggered Fanboy today. And on your video, a game about Iraq War is not political. Azuma G comments, I mean, you recommend to your viewers to check a Polygon article. What next? You will tell to check a Kotaku article about how, quotes, there are not enough transgender black lesbian females in Overwatch. Not even a close quote. And that's the comment.
I saw that
how
one,
dare you use a Polygon for reference, Henry? Oh my God. What next?
I mean,
Kotaku?
I knew when I typed it that some people would kind of grimace at the thought of looking at Polygon, because just like with Kotaku, there's a serious amount of bullshit on those fucking websites, just pretend problems that don't actually make a fucking difference. But every now and then they do a good one. Every now and then there's like a decent report, so you shouldn't swear them off entirely, because every now and then you'll be like, oh, they've broken a good story here, and they're not screaming about quote-unquote SJW stuff. I fucking hate that conversation, but they're talking about something that's actually a bit more worthwhile.
Yeah, I think to tar all the journalists with the same brush is a little bit reductive. I think there are maybe some good journalists at a bad outlet who sometimes come up with or even bad journalists who come up with a good story every now and then. I mean, I don't agree with everything that Jason Schreier says, but if in the majority he does good work. I mean, it doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that a bad Jason Schreier article would mean that Bloomberg are all bad. And when he was at Kotaku, he was probably the best thing about Kotaku.
Yeah.
So I think you should just
Just
take it without. Sorry, Karen.
So all of the articles about what was his quote, black, gay, transgender people, all of those could be from like the same person who just that's their bubble, and you think all of that's bullshit. But the same outlet is also has this other person who does all of these good things, or more interesting things rather. So you shouldn't just swear them all off. But it's a general rule of thumb. I think it's fair to say, like, if you see a Polygon thing, maybe be like, I don't know, what's the real thing here? But that one is quite a good interview.
Yeah, you should always assess everything on its own merits rather than think, oh, it has to be shit because of, some other journalist made a bad article from the same, or in general, those articles from that website are shit. That means that this one's shit. That's just a false assumption. So, take it as it comes rather than use the same brush to tar everybody. And that is didn't really have big triggered Fanboy, but this guy was the closest thing. So, do you have any comments from this week, Henry?
I've got a couple, but unfortunately, kind of fortunately, most of my titles this week were kind of like obvious, if that makes sense. Like, so there's that one about the Iraq War. Game about Iraq War is not political. Then about pretty much not all of them, but a decent amount of the comments were like, well, obviously it's political because of blah 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 blah. And I'm like, we're on the same fucking page here, my dude. I'm about to say the things that you're currently saying. You just haven't got to that point in the video yet because you saw the title and stuff. Which is, I mean, it's a good thing for engagement. I mean, it gets people talking. But it was that across like 3 different videos this week. Like, can Hawkeye save Marvel's Avengers? There was a bunch of them being like, no. Long answer, no. Why would you think that? No. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And that's the point I fucking make in the video. We're on the same side. I just think it's really funny. But on that kind of note, here's one from Dom M on the video, which was Take-Two boss says single player is not dead. Once again, no one believes it's dead. It's the fucking executives at the top who say that. And I said that in the video. Anyway, Dom M says single player games aren't dead. In other news, water is wet. How is this even news? Of course, execs don't really believe that. But as we've said, these greedy wankers know they just can't monetize it as excessively. And I'm just like, yeah, we're on the same page. That's what I said. But however, that's a bad sentence. However, how is this even news? Because it's one of the big people actually admitting it. Like, all of the execs are normally like, oh, they're dead, and of course they don't believe that. It's all bullshit. But they push that narrative. But he's one of the big boys at the big boy table, saying they're not dead. So that hopefully, this notion that they are dead among, the 1% corporate execs at the top who pretend to believe it, maybe it can just fuck off now, and we can start getting more good single player games. That's the dream. But I mean, it's a pipe dream certainly because these guys don't give a fuck. But
yeah, there you have it.
I think the delay is getting worse.
It is. Shall we maybe restart our connection just to see if we can save it? I'm going to restart my camera, and we're back. So next comment comes from Surge315. Just a quick one. He says, "Finally, a no bullshit channel." Well, we try our best. Thanks, dude.
Well, yeah, that's. It's good to see that people actually get on board with the lack of faff. There's every now and then someone will complain, oh, there was like loads of faff at the beginning. It's literally 7 seconds. It's 7 seconds every single time. Because I know when I put the timestamps in, I'm always like, well, the first one is 0, then the next one is 7, and then that's it. Every single time.
So I've got this other decent comment from Peter Clark on I think it was on the game based on Iraq War is not political. You left a pinned comment saying that your first draft of it was over 1,000 words on that article, and Peter Clark came back with, seriously, your writing and opinions are excellent, so please do publish them. You may not have the viewership of Young or Skill Up, but that isn't the point. We support you because we view your work as quality. And personally, I'd like a critique style format from you and Gaz in the same way White Light or Mandalore does. An hour-long vid of you picking something apart would be utterly fine by me. There you are, Henry.
I mean,
so
when it comes down to hour-long videos like that, I can't fucking stand them personally because I'm like
Naked Jakey. I love Naked Jakey's ones, man. He's the only one. He's got that ball and he jumps. King. I just love that. I love it.
He is fucking spot on, and his Last of Us, is it the Last of Us one? His is like 50 minutes long,
I love
and I did watch through. I watched it on double speed though because I'm not. But I'm like, well, you see, people. I don't even have any specific names because there's so many that do it. It's like, blah blah blah. The full review or the full critique or whatever, and it's like 3 fucking hours. I'm like, how did you even upload that? It's so fucking long. But with going back to that videos thing, it doesn't exist anymore. That draft doesn't exist because I changed it and moved things around and I cut it. I mean, in the end, I think it was still about 800, 900 words anyway, so it didn't really shave much off. And it was, it's not like I made any good points. I cut out like fluff because that's why I made it shorter, because we can't have any faff. The closest thing to faff I will allow in my videos will be some stupid joke or a questionably funny meme. But yeah, thanks for commenting on it anyway, because I do feel sometimes like, oh, I wrote this really nice bit and it sounds cool as fuck, but it's there's no need for it. It's just patting myself on the back. It's like, oh, I can write a very good sentence. Yeah, I'm much better at writing than I am at speaking. I'm sure you may have noticed from my podcast rambling.
Yeah. You got any more comments?
I have a couple. Where's the one I was looking for? Oh, this one's great. From Can Hawkeye Save Marvel's Avengers? This is from Glenn Orpheus. Henry, when I saw the title of the video, I was expecting to just see you laugh out loud for 2 minutes. Well done for being diplomatic, though. Well, yeah, I mean, I could have done. That would have been compelling content, to say the least. But yeah, I tried to be nice in that one. I'm trying to be positive about the Avengers because I want to like it, but they just don't make it fucking easy. But in its defense, though, it does have a core fan base of people who watch the War Table streams and comment stuff and are in the live chat saying they're really excited. But there was a few comments on this video, people being like, where is it? There's none immediately in front of me, but being like, who even cares? It's only Hawkeye. But at the same time, when the game was announced and there was everyone but Hawkeye from the original 6, people were complaining. So people do want to see Hawkeye there. Why he's coming in now after some other character who virtually no one fucking cares about, and not a big name like Wolverine, is beyond me. But people do want to see Hawkeye in the game, so I don't think it's fair to say no one gives a shit. Most people don't give a shit, but some people do.
Some people do always give a shit, Henry. That's just part of life. My very last comment comes from a username Current. There's another praising one of you. Says, Henry, you deserve to be seen and heard by hundreds of thousands of viewers. Great video.
Well, thank you very much. I like to be seen.
What? Seen and heard.
See into my soul. See who I really am.
Yeah.
Well, no, thank you anyway. I've got 2 more. Well, this one I thought was kind of funny. It's from the last week's podcast, and I can't remember the context of why he's saying it, but I just think it's funny that he mentions it on a podcast. Wolfie Sauce, they have to hit 10 minutes for their algorithms to promote. Now, I probably ranted about something about videos that extend how long they are to get over to 10 minutes. But I just think it's really funny that he's saying they have to extend to 10 minutes for the algorithm to promote, as if we don't know that already. Been on YouTube for a hot minute now. But also that it's on a podcast, which was an hour and 20 minutes long. Like, yeah, I think we're over the threshold for the 10-minute mark, don't you? Yeah. I just thought it was quite funny. And then, where's the other one I quite liked? Because they got a joke that I didn't expect anyone else to see. Oh, here it is. From, what's the story? I think it was about a lawsuit. Yeah, Sony hit by class action lawsuit. It's the same video as the Iraq War political one. there was a bit where it was like a form you had to fill in for this law firm, and then they put you into the class action lawsuit to explain their problems. And this person noticed my little fun, stupid Easter egg because I'm a child. Michael Villis, 522. Batman got a PS5. I guess someone paid the scalper fees. Rumor has it that he is secretly rich, which I thought was quite funny because I'm clever and I put Bat and Man as his first and surname in the box. Aren't I a funny one?
Lol.
I'm just glad I got one response. I thought that was fun.
There you
He
go.
clocked it. And he got a like. I mean, maybe someone else spied it too. So
Yeah. So there you have it. For those of you who maybe want to get their comment read out in next week's podcast, make sure you comment on one of the videos this week in the coming week, because we do read pretty much all of them, scour through the best ones in order to read them out on the podcast. So there you have it. And thanks to everyone who has upped our engagement over the past week. And if you do want to get your question read out for the podcast, remember patreon.com/prettygoodgaming is where you can support us to make that happen. Next up, we've got the very last segment of this week, which is the bad dad joke of the week. All right, I've heard this one before, but it is genuinely one of my favourites. So, Henry, are you ready?
let's have at it.
I replaced our bed with a king-size trampoline. When my wife finds out, she's going to hit the roof.
That's quite fun.
I like that.
I love the idea of sleeping on a trampoline. Well, sleeping on a trampoline is great fun. I've done it a couple of times. But
Have you really?
Yeah. Yeah, slept on trampolines before.
In a garden?
Yeah. One of my mates back home, he lives kind of in the arsehole of nowhere, but they've got a really nice house and a very big garden. So we always used to go there as like our hangout place to get pissed, and then we'd get pissed and fall asleep on a trampoline.
There you have it. Henry likes to sleep like a tramp on a trampoline. Get it?
It's comfy.
The second.
Although getting up off it when you're hungover in the morning's quite the challenge, but it's quite comfy to sleep on.
And that kind of bookends our podcast for this week. So if you did enjoy it, please leave a thumbs up on the video. Remember to support us on patreon.com/prettygoodgaming. And until next week, from Henry and myself, bye for now.